The weight of anxiety, an invisible yet palpable burden, presses down on countless lives, shaping perceptions, stifling potential, and obscuring the beauty of everyday moments. It is not a sign of personal weakness, but rather a complex interplay of body and mind responding to an increasingly rapid and unpredictable world. In our era of pervasive connectivity and elevated expectations, the feeling of being overwhelmed has become an unwelcome companion for many. The incessant chime of notifications, the pressure to perform in every facet of life, the uncertainty of what the future holds. All these elements weave a tapestry of concern that can at times seem insurmountable. It is facile to fall into the trap of believing this internal turmoil is a permanent condition, an immutable characteristic of one's very identity. However, this narrative, rooted in resignation, fails to reflect the reality of the human experience, nor the intrinsic capacity for adaptation and resilience we possess. What many experience is not merely a fleeting moment of worry, but a more persistent state of heightened alert, where triggers seem to abound, and the ability to find calm appears increasingly elusive. This constant tension can manifest in myriad ways: a racing heart without apparent cause, thoughts spiraling in vicious cycles, difficulty concentrating, or a pervasive sense of apprehension that permeates even the most routine activities. The quest for relief is a personal and often solitary journey, fraught with attempts that do not always yield the desired outcomes. Society, while acknowledging anxiety as a problem, still grapples with fully demystifying it, leaving many feeling isolated in their internal struggles. Healing is not a linear process, nor is there a one-size-fits-all solution, but within this individuality lies the hope of discovering effective pathways. This is not a generic guide offering hollow promises of eradicating anxiety overnight. Instead, I propose a concrete exploration geared toward the practical application of strategies that, over time, can gradually transform your relationship with your own thoughts and sensations. The focus is not on the complete elimination of anxiety, as it is, to a degree, a natural and even adaptive response, but on its management. It is about learning to navigate waves of apprehension with greater skill, developing internal tools that enable the reclamation of control, even amidst emotional tempests. The objective is to chart a viable course toward a more serene existence, not through illusory shortcuts, but via a conscious commitment to self-awareness and the adoption of practices that foster mental and emotional well-being. The challenge lies in recognizing that anxious reactions, while uncomfortable, often stem from deeply ingrained patterns of thought and behavioral habits. The idea of changing them can seem daunting, but the strength for this transformation resides in small, consistent steps. It is not about waiting for external circumstances to change drastically to find peace, but about cultivating a more resilient internal landscape, capable of facing challenges with a renewed perspective. The journey that begins here is an invitation to look inward, to understand the mechanisms that drive anxiety, and to discover accessible strategies that, when practiced regularly, can gradually alleviate the burden of this condition. Hope lies not in the absence of difficulties, but in the capacity to find calm and clarity amidst them, weaving a new narrative for your life. Our proposal is to demystify anxiety, transforming it from a feared enemy into a signal to be understood. It is an invitation to go beyond momentary relief and build a solid foundation of self-management. The path to a calmer life is paved with intentional actions, and the first step is recognizing the need and the possibility of change. This is not a battle against oneself, but a process of learning and integration, where each small victory strengthens the ability to cope with moments of greater turbulence. Anxiety, far from being a sentence, can become a catalyst for deeper self-knowledge and a life lived with more intention and serenity. It is crucial to recognize that anxiety, in its most limiting manifestation, often feeds on a cycle of negative future thoughts and past ruminations. This constant mental agitation, like a mighty river diverted from its natural course, impedes clear perception of the present, the only moment in which transformative action is possible. The anxious mind tends to project catastrophic scenarios, anticipating unfavorable outcomes and attributing excessive meaning to trivial events, thereby creating a paralyzing web of worries. This thought pattern, though exhausting, can be modified through techniques that reorient attention to the here and now. The deliberate practice of anchoring oneself in the present moment, even for brief instants, can begin to dismantle this rigid mental structure. A cornerstone of managing this tendency is the cultivation of mindfulness. Imagine the capacity to observe your anxious thoughts as fleeting clouds drifting across the sky. You acknowledge their presence without being swept away by them. This capability does not manifest overnight. It necessitates consistent practice. Commence with straightforward exercises such as dedicating a few minutes each day to non-judgmental observation of your breath. Notice the ingress and egress of air, the somatic sensations, the subtle expansion and contraction of your chest. When your mind inevitably wanders, gently guide your attention back to your breath. This continuous repetition fortifies the muscles of attention, rendering it more facile to address concerns with clarity, rather than succumbing to impulsive reactions. Furthermore, it is imperative to deconstruct the irrational beliefs that underpin anxiety. We frequently operate under the aegis of thoughts like, "I must achieve perfection," or, "If anything goes awry, it will be catastrophic." These sweeping generalizations and dichotomous thinking, the propensity to view circumstances in absolute all-or-nothing terms, distort reality and fuel apprehension. Confronting these cognitions demands a logical and investigative approach. Scrutinize the veracity of these beliefs. What tangible evidence substantiates them? Are there alternative interpretations of the situation? For instance, if you err at work, instead of ruminating, "I am a complete failure," consider the possibility that I made a specific mistake, and I can glean insights from it and act differently in the future. Regular physical activity emerges